Hey, what happened in baseball on Saturday and Sunday? Let's find out on Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, I'm your pal Sully. This is Locked On MLB, and we're going to be reviewing the games of Saturday and Sunday. While you were watching football, I was watching baseball. Let's check out the games from Saturday and Sunday. All right, we're back, and the games on Saturday just ended. Now, I have to say a couple of things. While the wild card race continues to be weird and a bit of a tossed salad, the leaders, the teams that look like they're going to win the division, must be looking at these wild card chases and going, that's interesting. Have fun. Get exhausted. The Milwaukee Brewers, who I still kind of think are going to win the World Series, threw a no-hitter against the Cleveland Indians. Now, Burns went the first 8 innings, and then Hader threw the final inning. So it was a combined no-hitter. And I happen to like combined no-hitters. I think they're kind of weird and funky. I like them better when it's like a mess of pitchers. You could say that the Brewers could have sent Burns out for the final inning, but he had already thrown 115 pitches. Hader threw the final pitch, and hey, everyone seemed happy there in Milwaukee. They got a no-hitter. The LA Dodgers wound up beating the San Diego Padres. We'll get to that in a second. And the Dodgers are continuing to march to the postseason. The Giants continue to be the best team in baseball. They had 92 wins, which every single Giant fan would have asked a genie for at the beginning of the year, 92 wins. And here we got 92 wins with about 20 games to go. And the Rays clobbered the Tigers, and the Astros wound up losing, but most of the surefire teams took a look at the wild card chase and say, have fun clobbering yourself for the last 3 weeks. We're going to rest up. Now, let's just go over a couple of the wild card games that had some sort of implication. First of all, Oakland. Let me just say this very clear. You cannot lose a game like that. You can't drop a game where you have you drop a 4-run lead in the 8th inning. You can't do that. You can't have a game that you're in complete and total control of. And Irvin pitching really well, and everything is working methodically. 1 run in the first, 1 run in the second, 1 run in the third. You scored 3 in the fourth, took total control, and then drop a 5 spot. See, a 5 spot from the Texas Rangers dropped on you. I mean, and Irvin was like, he threw 8 solid innings, and then you look up and they get, I don't even, I'm going to have to look up the kid's name with the home run. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. It was Jonah Heim, former Oakland A. There you go. Nice job there. This is too late in the season to have a meltdown like that. It's never a good time to have a complete bullpen meltdown. But guess what? When you now have, 20 games, less than 20 games left to play, and each game, when you're in a complete log jam, means are you going to play in the playoffs or not? You can't have that. The A's have had, 5 or 6 games like that in the last month and a half? You can't have that anymore. If you have to start pitching other people out of the bullpen, people would be starting pitchers. Do stuff, mix and match. It's time. Don't give me charge. Don't give me rest. You have to do something different. You can't drop games like that anymore. That could be the difference between playing in October or playing golf. The Seattle Mariners lost to the Diamondbacks because Varsho got a great game. Those kind of losses are going to happen. That was a decisive loss. The Mariners dropped the game. That's going to happen. It's not good. You don't want it to happen if you're a Seattle Mariners fan. You got to beat the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are a lousy team. But at least it was a decisive loss, unlike what happened with Oakland, which was just a disaster. Now, the Red Sox put up a 7 spot at one point and then saw that evaporate to the Chicago White Sox. And Travis Shaw, who wasn't even supposed to start, but JD Martinez was scratched, and it was an absolute miracle that he was not scratched for COVID reasons, because it seems like everybody, including the frozen head of Ted Williams, has COVID now on the Red Sox. Santana's the latest one to go down. Chris Sale was supposed to start tomorrow, but Shaw came in and got a whole mess of hits, and next thing you know, the Red Sox win the game in extra innings. And so a really unlikely 9-8 victory over the Chicago White Sox means that the Red Sox held on to that number one spot in the wild card chase. Now, the Toronto Blue Jays had, I'll say it, the strangest day of any contender, because they were going up against the Baltimore Orioles in a pair of 7-inning games in a doubleheader. And the Orioles, give them credit. They played the Yankees tough, and they won that first game against the Toronto Blue Jays, and they took a lead into the seventh inning for the opener. I thought, man, give the Orioles credit. Give the Orioles credit. They are going to win and put the Blue Jays in a situation where best case scenario is they split the series. But then the Blue Jays went on a rally, and they scored 4 runs in the top of the seventh inning, and they wound up winning the first game 11-10. The Blue Jays won a game where they allowed 10 runs. And guess what? That was the normal game, because someone named Keegan Aiken, I may have mispronounced his name. I've never said his name out loud until just now. You witnessed that, mark the day and time. Was throwing a no-hitter into the seventh. Now, of course, it's a 7-inning game. So a no-hitter in a 7-inning game is never going to be recognized as a no-hitter. Just ask Madison Bumgarner. But it would still be quite an accomplishment to take this Blue Jays team that scored 11 runs in the first game and hold them to no runs and no hits. It was a 1-0 game going to the seventh. They sent them out and said, come on, finish this game up. And all the possibilities were going in my head at that time. If the Orioles hold on to this, and if the Yankees lose that, and if the Mariners win this, there could be a 3-way tie for the second wild card spot. No, if only the A's had won, it could have been a 4-way tie. And the Orioles scored 11 runs. Again, they scored 11 runs in the first game, scored 11 runs in the next game. In a game where they were being no-hit into the seventh, and they only played 7 innings. So they went in 1-0 was the score going into the seventh inning. And Bo Bichette came up. Oh, they actually allowed a leadoff single. So there goes the no-hitter. Okay. Then Bo Bichette comes up, the son of Dante Bichette, and whose name sounds so much like one of our favorite characters from the Star Wars movies. Bo Bichette comes up and hits a 2-run home run. Well, tough luck loss. Just shows you how ridiculous the win-loss stat is. And then another hit, another home run. And a couple more hits, another big hit. And I looked up. I was checking some of the other games. And, of course, every time I wanted to flip to another game, I had to have the MLB app play 2 minutes of commercials. Thanks a lot. And I just flipped back and I saw it was 11-1. They scored 11 runs in 1 inning. And at one point I thought, okay, Blue Jays, you made your point. And suddenly, and look I'm not going to say anything bad about the Orioles, because when I said something bad about the Marlins, I suddenly got a Marlin fan against me. So I got to be careful what words I choose. The Orioles are flawed. Can we all agree that the Orioles are flawed? I'd like to be able to say that the Orioles are flawed. The fact of the matter is the Orioles tried, but in 2 games they allowed 22 runs. They took the lead. They were 3 outs away from winning games 1 and 2. They could have swept the doubleheader from the Toronto Blue Jays. And instead, they lost both games and allowed 22 runs. It's a weird thing that happened. Very strange. And then, of course, there was the 9/11 game in Citi Field. And, of course, the ceremonies were beautiful and poignant and heartfelt. And then came the game. And the Yankees offense woke up. They got up to a 5-0 lead. Then the Mets came storming back. And McCann hits the home run. And they tack on another run. And then the Mets just played stupid. Stupid, making bad plays in the infield, and laughing with the Yankees, which, look, I'm not going to be the fun police. Have fun. But it's just bad optics when your defense coughed up a run in a major game and you're laughing with the other player. I'm not saying you have to grind your teeth and be angry all the time, but show a little more uh, intensity, maybe. And Alonso looked like he was going to have his Mike Piazza moment by hitting that long drive to center field that just came up short. And then the Mets got the tying run to third in the ninth inning and could not get him home. And this was a terrible loss for the Mets because it could have dragged them a tiny bit closer to the National League wild card. Because believe it or not, the National League wild card suddenly became in play. But as it turned out, the American League wild card now has a tie in the second wild card position. Yes, the Yankees defeated the Mets, but they lost a half game in the standing to Toronto because Toronto scored 22 runs total. So as I'm sitting here right now, the Red Sox, by a miracle, have the lead spot in the wild card, while the Yankees and the Blue Jays are tied. About a week ago, the Yankees had a 4-game lead over the Blue Jays? And in a week, it's gone down to bagel, 0, nothing. And that includes a game where the Blue Jays lost and the Yankees won. So here we are. But suddenly, the American League wild card remains a bit of a jumble. It would have been a little bit better if the A's had held on to that lead and the Mariners had defeated the Diamondbacks. It would have still been an absolute scrum. But here comes the rub I was not expecting. Let's say the following events happen, shall we? Let's just say the Dodgers win tomorrow. Well, it's possible. They're going to throw Max Scherzer. Any day your team is throwing Max Scherzer, you have a chance to win that game. I'm going to go out on a limb. I like to make daring statements like that. Maybe you could go to Bet Online and bet on that. It's not a Bet Online spot. But let's say that happens. Like Max Scherzer wins a game against Snell. Okay? Let's say that happens. Okay? Let's also say, what else can we say? Let's say that the Cardinals beat the Reds. Okay. Yeah, those are two, close teams. Let's just say that happens. The Cardinals beat the Reds. And let's also say that the Phillies beat the Rockies. All right, let's say those 3 events happen. And, they all can. And that's not an outrageous combination of events that happen. If those 3 things happen, then suddenly the National League wild card is going to get a little stranger. Because that would mean that you would have the Padres and the Reds tied for the second wildcard spot, and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals would only be 1 game out, and the Phillies would only be a game and a half out. Now, if the Mets happen to win, they would be 3 games out. What I'm saying is all the attention seems to be put on how crazy the American League wild card is, when suddenly that second wild card spot, the one that will have the honor of probably going to Dodger Stadium and facing Max Scherzer in a 1-game playoff, that team could be the Padres, could be the Reds, could be the Cardinals, could be the Phillies. It could be a 4-way race for the honor of facing Max Scherzer. You already know what happened because you're living in Monday. I'm living here in Saturday. You have to forgive me on that. But we're going to find out how this weekend unfolded. Let's see how the Sunday games turn out. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With all the makes and models that are out there, it's impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. Why endure pointless or seemingly intimidating questions and wait for the person behind the counter to order the parts on their computer, choosing only the brand their warehouse chooses to carry. You have computers and access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to help find the solution for your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com and see all the parts available for your car or truck and write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need are at rockauto.com. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that helps you catch the game live, another lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you, there's a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract, so get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Hey, it's that time of year again. All eyes are turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL Mega Contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor Contest, open now at BetOnline. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up for free to receive your 100% welcome bonus. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, from football, baseball, basketball, boxing, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait. Take advantage of all the great available offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is your online sportsbook expert. Okay, most of the Sunday games are done. The Yankees have not played the Mets yet, but there's a couple things we can bring up. First of all, the Mariners and the A's may have just played themselves out of this. Going into this weekend, when they pulled to within one game of the wild card, it looked like we could have an absolutely glorious scrum of wild card teams. But I got to tell you, if you can't beat the Rangers at home and you can't beat the Diamondbacks at home, and both the A's and the Mariners dropped the series. The A's dropped the series to the Rangers, a one-run loss for them, a couple of frustrating losses for the Mariners against the Diamondbacks. Those are two of the worst teams in baseball. Yes. We had injuries, we had this and that. Ranger fans are going to be mad at me. I don't care. Diamondback fans are going to be mad at me. I don't care. Your team stink this year. Okay? And if you are a team at home struggling to get a postseason spot, for the A's to get back to the postseason, for the Mariners to get in the postseason for the first time since 2001, which we all know is 20 years ago, you got to do better than this. There's less than 20 games left to play, and you can't drop two stupid games at home to supposedly bad teams. And good for the Rangers. Good for the Diamondbacks for showing up and show they're not going to be pushovers, that they're not going to be clobbered, that you have to actually beat them. Good for them, but bad for the A's and bad for the Mariners. You got to have a better showing than that. All right, there's a couple rules that we need to change in baseball. First and foremost, we do need the mercy rule because the Blue Jays beat the Orioles 22-7. 22-7. And they hung, it was 6-3 after two. Oh, look at that. It was 6-0 after two, going to the bottom of the second. Then Baltimore scored 3 runs. And then the Blue Jays hung a 10 spot. A 10 spot. Again, they hung an 11 spot yesterday. And then at that point, it was 16-3. And you got to say at one point, what are we doing? Well, why are we continuing this game? We know it's over. A team should have the right to be able to wave the white flag. especially as we're now trying to preserve arms and everything like that. The Orioles should have said, it's getaway day. We're done. We're done. Uncle. They should have the right to be able to do that. And not be automatic, but there should be the chance to say, like, hey, can we just call this? And of course, it was a game in Baltimore. So imagine you're sitting there. It's probably one of the last games of the season you're going to go see. And you're like, wow, it's the fourth inning. And it's the third or fourth inning. There's no conceivable way the team's going to win. And we got to slog through 6 more innings. There's got to be a way to play a mercy rule. Got to be. Well, the other thing that happened was Max Scherzer took a perfect game into the 8th inning. He did let up a hit, and it was a legit hit. I mean, thank goodness it wasn't a no-hitter broken up with like a ball lost in the sun or something like that. It was a legit double hit by Eric Hosmer. But it was as dominant a performance as you're going to see by anyone. There have been, 8 or 9 no-hitters this year, and you're going to be hard-pressed to find a game better pitched than by Max Scherzer, who may just have clinched the National League Cy Young Award with his victory over the San Diego Padres. And he became the 19th pitcher to record his 3,000th career strikeout. Dodgers rolled to the victory. Now, with that, the Padres lost again, and they're spiraling. And it got even worse. If nearly being no-hit and getting clobbered by the Dodgers isn't bad enough, Blake Snell had to leave because of an injury. And Snell, who's had an up-and-down year, has been pitching pretty well for the Padres recently, thank you very much. And to lose him could torpedo the Padres season. Now, as of this recording, the Padres are indeed tied for the second wildcard spot with the Cincinnati Reds. But guess what? The St. Louis Cardinals are 1 game back. You know how the Padres and the Reds have been battling it out? There's a chance they could both miss it. Now, the thing that remains unfair and stupid is the fact that the Dodgers are probably going to win 100 games. The Giants, who won again, are a cinch to win 100 games. They are going to be the 2 best teams in baseball. And there's no scenario that have them playing in the National League Championship Series. That's just nuts and so easy to fix. They can fix it right now, saying that after the wild card game, we reseed. And the wild card team can have no home field advantage, but reseed. The team with the best record in each league plays a team with the worst record in each league. That's not so hard to figure out. Unless the Reds, Padres, or Cardinals pull off a gigantic upset, we are going to have 2 100-win teams, probably the only 2 100-win teams in all of baseball, playing each other in the division series. The only thing that makes it mildly palatable is that chances are one of them will be playing the Milwaukee Brewers, who are a legitimate pennant contender. So it's not like they're going to get a schmuck if the Brewers advance as well, but there's just something not right about that. It's so easy to fix. It's harder to not fix it. So, the Red Sox lost to the White Sox in a walk-off game, which means with the Blue Jays clobbering the Orioles, that the Red Sox and the Blue Jays are tied. Now, if the Yankees wind up winning their game, there'll be a 3-way tie. Somehow the Red Sox are still a wild card team with less than 20 games to play. But it's looking more and more like the Blue Jays are playing on a completely different level. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Phillies wound up losing the Colorado Rockies. Good for the Rockies for showing up. But because of that, the Phillies, who have dropped 7 of their last 10 games, are now in a situation where they could be losing a spot in the postseason when the wild card is opening up. The Cardinals are taking advantage of that, and they took advantage of that with the series victory over the Cincinnati Reds. Will we have more anarchy in the National League wild card than the American League wild card? We're going to see. But first of all, I'm going to come back when we find out what happened with the Mets game. Well, that was a normal game that the Yankees and Mets played. It just ended. And there was a period I thought maybe it was not going to end. It was striking me as maybe the kind of game that was going to go on for 15 or 16 innings, and I needed to sleep eventually. Well, eventually it ended. And yes, I added that whistle intentionally. Let me try to unwrap what we just saw with that Met Yankee game. First of all, I guess whistling is the new trash can banging. There's a lot of people accusing the Yankees. It was Lindor was accusing the Yankees of doing some sort of whistle system for stealing signs. At this point, I'm all for stealing anything. It's just fun. It's silly. It's goofy, and it provided a little bit of a spark. Now, let me just offer one bit of suggestion to the New York Yankees, especially over the last few years. They need to realize that they're not good at the whole trash talking thing. Let me explain what I mean. There have been a bunch of times where the Yankees have tried to trash talk, be chippy, kind of show up the other team, and a lot of times it blows up in their face. Like Aaron Judge playing New York after they won game 2 of the division series against the Red Sox in 2018, only to have the Red Sox humiliate the Yankees in game 3 and finish the series in game 4. Then there was the whole trashing Jose Altuve with the whole buzzer thing and taking off the shirt and doing all that stuff. And then Altuve turns around and hits the walk-off 3-run home run just before the All-Star break. Well, today, Giancarlo Stanton, who's not very good at trash talking, tried to get all chippy with Francisco Lindor after after Stanton hit the game-tying home run. And then, of course, what did Lindor do? Lindor became the first player ever in the Mets-Yankees Subway Series to hit 3 home runs in one game. There have been a lot of sluggers on both sides. It wasn't Piazza. It wasn't Wright. It wasn't Pete Alonso. It wasn't Bernie Williams. It wasn't Tino Martinez. It wasn't Alex Rodriguez. It wasn't Jason Giambi. It wasn't Hideki Matsui. Think of all the names that it could have been since interleague play began in 1997. But nope. Turns out it was Lindor. And Lindor has had, let's be kind and call it a really, really rough first year in New York. And one way to win over Met fans is to hit 3 home runs, including 2 go-ahead home runs and 1 home run in the 8th inning to put them ahead for good. And with that, the Yankees have fallen out of being one of the 2 wild card teams. Therefore, all the goodness of the 13-game winning streak is now officially gone. And with, I think it's either 18 or 19 games left, the Blue Jays and the Red Sox are the 2 American League wildcard teams. In other words, the Red Sox will get clobbered by the Toronto Blue Jays in the wildcard game as it stands right now with a little under 20 games left to play. Now, the incredible thing is the Mets have even 500 at this point, broken even 500. After 144 games, they are 72-72. And keep in mind, they are now only 3 games out of a playoff spot. Break even, 500, 18 games left to play, and they are 3 back. The Padres, one of the 2 teams with a second wildcard spot, are heading off depleted, shattered, limping to San Francisco, where they'll be playing a motivated Giants team who want to clinch early and want to clinch that division and pull the rug out from the Dodgers. Padres are in trouble. And the Mets are going to be playing the Cardinals, one of the other teams that are ahead of them. So while it is not likely, it's also not outrageous to think that the Mets could go into the final couple of weeks of the season only a game or 2 out of the playoffs. This season is really weird. This weekend was really weird, and that's the fun part. This is when baseball is basically an all-you-can-eat dessert buffet because all of these stories going on simultaneously, all these games going on. We've now reached a point where the game's importance have skyrocketed. And now we've finished the weekend. And I have finished this podcast, which I've been doing all weekend long. So go to the free and easy to use Odyssey app. Follow us on YouTube. For those of you watching me on YouTube, you can follow us on Twitter at Locked On MLB Pods. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Breaking down the games of the weekend as we look to the final 18, 19, 20 games of the year. And some teams still have images of an October dancing in their head. And a few teams have become really, really close to clinching, and some are going to be kicking themselves because they got super close and are starting to fall away. This has been Locked On MLB for the 13th day of September. We're in mid-September, everyone, 2021. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully, and let me also tell you that betting on baseball does not have to be a guessing game. You can subscribe to the new Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. Follow the Locked On Bets podcast, brought to you by betonline.ag, wherever you get podcasts. Let's have a good week, everyone.